Welcome, everybody. We are here for another Tuesday Talks Live. We're so excited to be with you, having a little glitch in our matrix today. Just say that's normal, right? We have such a fun show for you today. We have the lovely Vineeta with Elevate with V joining us. Vineeta, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay. I have known Vineeta for a while now. We crossed ways, maybe a year ago or so? Would you say? Has it been longer?
That's a good question, Heather. I think it might be about a year.
Yeah. And I've just watched her journey. She's been a member of my Quantum Soul Members Portal, and she's just has an amazing energy, very uplifting and positive and motivational. So we're super excited that you're here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Heather. I'm so excited to join you. Truly. I've watched this show and I was like, wait, I'm gonna be on it? Oh, that's super cool.
Yep, you get to come see our opening shenanigans.
I love it. I love it. You know what? It just helps your guests relax, right? Because you're like,
Right.
oh, look, there's nothing serious happening here. We're just here having fun.
Yeah, we are just having fun.
We need to put together like a bloopers reel of all of our opening.
It's going to be a long reel.
It would be pretty cute. Oh, well, let me tell you a little bit about the lovely Vineeta. Vineeta has an amazing podcast called Elevate with V. And she has been on an amazing journey. And I want to read a little something that she shares on her podcast. Let me pull it up here. So tell you a little bit more about the lovely Vineeta. She says, through her own healing and transformational journey, host Vineeta has encountered a wide variety of healers who have all in their own way shared one universal message: that every storm has a silver lining. Join her in each episode as she engages in meaningful conversations to empower us to transform our darkness into purposeful light. On this podcast, we elevate. So let us journey together and be lifted up to our greatest potential. I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah. So let's just get started. We're just gonna jump right in. And why don't you tell us, Vineeta, a little bit about your journey, how you got to where you are, how you got to the point of wanting to start a podcast and share these powerful messages.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Heather. I appreciate you. And so I had a incredible food business with a partner, with the business partner, and we were rocking and rolling. Things were just flowing, and we were slowly growing and expanding. We were getting into a place we were ready for like growth, and then everything literally started to just fall apart. And you know how you kind of know that something is not right, even though you're kind of moving forward. So that's kind of what happened. And 2019 is kind of when really everything started to fall apart. And the business partnership was all kinds of cracks were happening. And I was like, okay, let's try to fix this. Let's try to do something. But you know how they say it takes two to tango. And if only one person wants to do that, then it's not going to work. And so what ended up happening is I ended up taking on like having to kind of wind down the business by myself in 2019. So during that process, I could tell that there was a lot of trauma, a lot of, we've all been through these experiences, right? Where you feel like the rug has been pulled out from under your feet, and it's like you feel you've been wronged, you feel like the victim. So all of those things were coming up, but I was very focused on, this is a business that like provided so much joy in my life. Like I just lived and breathed it, and now it was time to wind it down. It's almost like my babies, right? And so I wanted to do right. And so I took the time to kind of close the business down, but I could tell that my physical, mental, emotional bodies were like there was so much trauma going on. And so as I wound down the business towards the end of 2019, my mom, who lives in India, was like, let's make time to go to one of these healing centers in India, like Ayurveda. I don't know if a lot of people have heard about Ayurveda, but it's ancient practiced medicine, plant medicine in India. And so she's like, well, you're closing your business. I know December used to be your busiest month, but you're closing down the business. So come on down here. So I kind of started my journey by doing like a 21-day panchakarma, which is like a full-on detox, which I knew was perfect timing because I could tell my body had so much trauma. Like this would really help to start the process. So I jumped in head first, went to India with my mom to do this detox, and it was quite a process. I mean, I won't lie, it was pretty painful, but it was also like I was ready for it, because it's like literally like when the doctor was touching my body, I could feel the pain. So he was like, you are storing like trauma in your body. I was like, I know, help me.
Get it out.
Get it out. I know you're going to beat it out of me, but that's fine. Do it. And so yes, it was actually, I'm not lying. I mean, I was bruised up big time for quite a while, but that's kind of
what were they doing to you?
So, when you think of like massage, the moment you say massage, I know there's like deep tissue, but when people think massage, they just think, oh my God, relaxation. It's going to be so wonderful.
Listen, not in the East. Not in the East.
Oh my goodness. This massage is so intense. Like, I don't even know how many layers they're going into, but I remember like the first day they did the massage, and then the second day I went back because I was getting like maybe 2 massages a day. I mean, I was literally crying on the table. And the woman's asking me in her limited English, like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I'm in so much pain, but keep going.
Keep going.
Do it more.
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart. If you are somebody who's got a lot of trauma, I know there are many other ways to do a detox. This is what I chose, and it was the right thing for me. And I'm really grateful because the doctor was, I mean, spectacular. One of the, not only in terms of like 5 generations of their family dealing with Ayurveda, he was just so compassionate. He would listen. Like, he just really was on top of his game. He still is. And I hope to one day get him on my show to talk about Ayurveda. But basically, that's how I started my journey. And then I came back. I said, okay, now that I've done a lot of this like physical, now I can tackle some of the emotional and the mental and all of these things. And lo and behold, the timing lined up with the pandemic. So now I had 24/7 to focus on
to work on you. All day.
All day. Yeah. And I was, eager to do it. So that was kind of one of the other things. But, long story short, so pandemic happens and I sort of dive into this like healing journey, like not really having any tools, not having any clue on what I'm going to be doing. But clearly I must have been following some guidance, whether it was tapped in or not. And I started to kind of like move into my journey, and literally started with like binge watching Gaia, which if people are not familiar with Gaia, it's like the Netflix, but more with like spiritual and esoteric things. And I was completely isolated. I was by myself during the pandemic. So it was very challenging because I was completely cut off from everything and everyone. Nobody understood what I was going through. So I couldn't even talk to some of my closest friends and family. And it's only later when we realize, for some of us who've been through that dark night of the soul, as they call it, that it's meant to be a solo journey because you're meant to go inward. So, my higher self obviously orchestrated all of this beautifully. So in time, I started to find people online, and even though social media, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, social media. But during that time, I was like, yes, thank you, social media, because I can find some other people who are like going through the same process. And so in this process of healing myself, I was a concierge for my work, which I absolutely love. I love like being a concierge, but something was feeling like, okay, through this journey, something else is calling me. I don't know what it is yet, but it's calling to me. And somehow, I can't remember exactly how, but then the inspiration came in that said, well, why don't you do a podcast? Because you now have something to share from your personal experience. And there must be so many other people who were isolated or are isolated. They have no one to talk to. They're going through all of these things. Like, let's share stories. Let's bring people like all of us who are here who've gone through our own healing journey so we can sit where we're sitting and we can share something, whether it's wisdom or tips or tools or resources. And for me, what I realized is when we each share our story, that's where the healing happens, because someone can resonate with your story and say, oh, that sounds like me. I totally get it. And then, really helps in the healing process. So that was really the inspiration. And here I am 6 months later, 26 episodes in, and it just feels so aligned with who I am. And it brings me so much joy. Like the moment I get to do a podcast, I'm all like lit up and ready to like talk and share. And, the feedback that I do get, it's not a lot. It's usually from friends and my hosts, has been really wonderful. So it just feels great. It's like pain to purpose story, right? We all sort of are in that pain to purpose story. And when you look back, you're like, wow, to have gratitude for everything that happened, right? As painful as it was, and you don't have the insight then, but then you look back, you're like, wow, if the universe hadn't made that huge detour, it was not pleasant, but it needed to happen. I wouldn't be sitting here creating this beautiful podcast and getting a chance to connect with all of you. So as they say, everything always happens for a reason. So yeah, that was a long story short. It's kind of my journey.
That's so great. I'm just wondering, Vineeta, sorry, do you find your podcast is a therapy for you also?
Yeah, it's such a great question, because what I realize is I'm so in the moment when I'm doing, the interviews, and I'm just flowing and I'm getting insights from each of the guests that come on. When I actually go back to re-listen, so I really don't edit my episodes, but sometimes you just want to make sure. When I listen to it again, oh my goodness, like I'm getting chills of it now. It's like there's so many insights. It's almost like I'm getting all this information. So I'm like, if I'm getting this information, that means others probably are getting the information too. So that is one of the beautiful, beautiful things that I didn't expect. So it's like a unexpected bonus.
Wow.
I have listened to, sorry, Heather, you keep trying to speak.
Oh no, I said, wow, that was it. No, you're good. You go.
Because I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and like all the information out there, you just cherry pick the pieces that, fit in where you are right now. And that's what's so great about everyone sharing all the information. You don't have to believe everything. You just take the bits that resonate, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not going to say anything else.
I was just going to ask, how is it that you pick the people for your podcast? What do you look for when you're
great question. So here's the funny thing is it took me a while to launch my podcast, because there was this sort of feeling of I've been like a hermit, right? Like I've gone through this immense transformation, and it's almost like I'm going to step out and be completely naked in front of people who've like known me, not known me. So it was really a big step, and it took me a while to get through that. And as we go through our journey, we also realize, like, I know for myself that I was probably silenced in many lifetimes. And so this lifetime, I'm like, I'm going to break through. I'm going to push through. I'm going to do this. And so when I even had the idea, I mean, literally, I had already created my list of people that I wanted to have on my podcast. And I had like 30 people, because it was almost sort of like, how I said I started to meet people on social media that were like coaches or healers. And so I was learning from a lot of different people. And so I felt that that was a great way to pay it forward, right? To say, hey, I received something from them. I would love to pay it forward. And then along my journey, I just kept meeting more and more people. And so because I have a connection, that's kind of usually what I do, is like I do have a connection with the person, versus just someone that I've said like, oh, let me go get this person. So I haven't gone to that place yet where I'm having to like, in quotes, solicit somebody. So there's always this little bit of comfort level, because I kind of have a little bit of a relationship with someone, which I think makes the podcast flow in a very different way. Because I remember, like, Heather, even when you came on, like, we didn't know what we were going to create, and we just had so much fun. And even some of the things that Heather talked about, I'm like, oh, we're going to talk about this, let's do it, let's go for it. And it was just amazing. So you never know what's going to happen, but I kind of really love that process. But yeah, that's kind of how I've just had my list of guests, and I keep adding. You know, Heather knows that I've been on Clubhouse for a couple of months. I mean, I've literally had like 7 or 8 people who are like, I want to be on your podcast. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
okay, wonderful. Let's do it.
I'm always trying to catch you on Clubhouse because it'll pop up and it'll say, Vineeta is in this room talking. And then when I click on it, you're in there, but you're never talking. So I never get to hear what you're saying.
Well, you get to hear me enough in our portal, so you don't need to hear any more of me, Heather.
Well, I love listening. I love listening. So yeah.
How did you find Heather then, Vineeta?
Yeah, so actually I found Heather through her friend, Alexandra. So I was part of her group, and then she was talking about Heather, and she said how, you know, they both were doing, I think they're training together, and she's amazing.
Fresh
Yes,
practitioners.
yes. And so I think she even guided us to your channel when she shared. And so then I kind of popped over to come and listen. And I'd been listening to other BQH practitioners. And then I started listening to Heather, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then that's kind of how that connection happened.
Yeah. I feel like the universe just brings you together, doesn't it? I see so many connections amongst all of our groups and all the different people that we are meeting. So I feel like there's, and I think the guides have said in one session that there's just a very large group of us that got together and said, we're all going in at the same time, and then we're all going to begin to meet up at some point. So here we are.
I definitely feel that, for sure.
Yeah, we're magnetized, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting away.
No matter how hard you try, you're stuck.
Mm.
I mean, I'm stuck with you guys?
Yes.
What in the world?
Yes, until the next life, you're stuck with us.
I'm not coming back here. That's not happening.
Mm.
Nope.
I'll talk you back into it. It'll be all right.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, you can only drink margaritas on a beach for so long, then you're gonna go do something else.
I feel like we could do it for a pretty long time if we wanted to. That's what we said, Vineeta. We said we're all going to create our own planet.
Our own planet. Yes, I can do that. Yeah.
Yes, own planet, fruity beverages, and just floating in the water with the dolphins and the whales all day. And
that sounds so amazing. I love it. Well, you know, it's so interesting, right, as we talk about this, because we probably said the same thing, and then we go up into our, you know, ascended form. It's like, what? Yeah, let's go back. That was so much fun. I'm like, what are you talking about? Were we in the same experience? No, that's not what we want to do again. But, you know, we never know, right?
I'm just worried.
It won't be the same experience. It'll be a different one. We'll do something different. We fixed Earth. Now let's go over here and fix this place.
I'm wondering how many more there are to fix. Is
probably
the
a lot.
thing. Oh, don't say that.
I actually feel like there's something in me that says that we've done this enough times. And of course, you know, we all know that there was a huge calling right now to be here, which is why a lot of us are here doing our light work and everything that we're doing. But there's something that also says that I feel like we're also like creators. Like maybe we're able to create planets or places, you know, like I think that that's also a possibility as a new adventure. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think they trick me back in here with food. I'm obsessed with food, Vineeta, and I think they're like, you know, they show me these images of the food, and you can have this and this, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go do it again.
Just make sure
it's a trick.
The good chocolate and the good cheese.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting as we talk about food, because, you know, these conversations come up about, you know, as you're ascending and your frequency is rising, you're going to want to eat less and you're
That's
just
not
going to,
happening over here.
right? And I was like, really? And then they just become like plant-based, or they just start eating fruits and then slowly they don't need to eat anything else. I'm like,
Breathing the
really?
air. You're just
Really?
breathing the air. That's
I was
all
like,
you need.
I was like, didn't we come here to enjoy that piece of chocolate cake and have that ice cream? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. And it brings joy, right? So that raises your vibration, just being joy, having joy in food. So I'm not going to eat lettuce leaves all day. Nuh-uh. That's not why I came here. No.
And shoot, when I'm done with the session, I'm ravished. I'd go invade the cabinets and just eating everything in there, because it's like I don't know, I need it. Need this something.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We
And,
just
and you
had to
know,
get the toxins out of everything we eat, then we'd be probably okay.
yeah, absolutely. That's a whole other thing, right? Like starting to like grow our own food. Like I can't wait to start to grow my own food. Like I am in an apartment, so I don't have any outdoor space. But like literally my whole windowsill is just lined up with plants. Not necessarily all edible, maybe two or three, like my basil and my one or two other herbs, but I can't wait for that process of being able to grow our own stuff. And
Yeah.
some of you might already be doing that, which is super exciting.
Kaz has a great garden, don't you? You've got lots of
I
stuff
I
planted.
I have some fruit trees and I have some berry sort of bushes, and I have just 4 small raised beds. If it's any more than that, I don't think I could handle the looking after it. And I just shove it all in. There's
Yeah.
no planning. I just shove it all in, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I like that. See what happens.
Been seeing that on TikTok. It's I watch the little gardeners that put together those beds, and they're saying that too. They show you how to just move over. If you need to plant something new, just sort of slide this one over a little bit and shove it right down in there and let it come up.
Yeah.
I planted that big acre garden, and I really haven't done much with it other than planting the taters, but that's going to be too big to maintain. That's going to be a lot.
How long does it take to grow taters?
Well, probably you'll bring them out in the fall. I don't know
Well,
exactly.
I planted some like small ones. What are they called? Sets or whatever. I don't know if you call them sets. About 6-7 weeks ago, and I have tall plants. They haven't flowered yet, but they're getting ready. What else are you going to plant apart from taters, Tony?
Taters. Well, we have sweet
Taters.
potatoes. We have sweet taters up there. We have taters. We have corn. We have peas, asparagus. What else? I don't know.
Sounds amazing.
I'm so busy. My wife is mostly doing most of that.
And how big was that bed that you showed us? It was like a big, huge one.
Yeah, it's like an acre, almost probably approach an acre and a half, maybe. I don't know how big an acre is, but it's big.
That's big.
Yeah. But I never liked to pick the weeds as a kid, so I'm not so into gardening myself. But
I love how everyone's just getting into this, even if you're just trying, you know, just giving it a go. It's great. I love that. It's like a revolution in growing your own food.
I'm in the trying phase. I've got a few things growing so far, but it's hit or miss over here.
well, that's the most important thing, is to eat clean. If you're growing it, or if you have a trusted source where you're getting it from, eat clean. No matter what it is you're eating, eat whatever you want, as long as it's clean.
Okay.
So
I'm trying.
it does feel like more and more people are starting to get into the mind space of growing their own food. I think we're all really starting to realize just how toxic our environment is. And also, you can't afford anything these days. So I know one of the things that you had mentioned that you are so interested in, or we're all interested in, are these conscious communities that We feel, well, we've seen a lot of this information come in through sessions. I think a lot of people are starting to have these bigger ideas of creating these communities. The question is how do we get there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's so difficult. Honestly, I think it's difficult because, well, I've had groups here in Cambridge before, and I've thought these are my peoples, and I love this. And then, sort of 6 months in, there's all this infighting and disagreements,
Yeah.
and I thought they were my peoples, and then I'm like, they're not my peoples anymore. Where are they?
They were
I
the
don't know.
warm-up people.
They were the warm-ups, right? It's hard to kind of grasp the concept of working harmoniously. It's something we're really not used to doing. What are your thoughts?
Do you think it'll be easier though as we get higher in our vibration and we let go of some of these more human emotions where we get so triggered and we're all more balanced? Wonder if that will make it easier to be in those communities. Maybe.
Maybe,
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe we'd cut out the programming that's been programmed, because we're all
Yeah.
told that communities and stuff like that don't work.
Mm.
So maybe we cut the programming, maybe we could get it to work.
How do
I
you
don't know.
see it, Vineeta? What's come through in your podcast?
Well, it's interesting. We haven't actually talked a lot about, community other than there's one person that I know. I don't know if you're familiar with Sology. There's this
Mhm.
beautiful community that that's been created by Todd Medina, and he's been working on it for years, and he's finally like fully launching into it, at least online, and then he's looking to build. But it's taken him many years. And I think kind of what you were saying also before about you have a thought that, oh my God, it'll be amazing with these couple of people, it's going to work. But I have heard that every time that people have been attempting to do these communities, even though they're more like, in quotes, spiritual people, that a lot of times it's still not working. So I think for me, it's about like kind of just keeping the feelers out to be, I know a lot of people are attempting this, but who's actually making some headway, right? Like, where is it actually succeeding? So he's somebody that I kind of keep an eye on. And the other gentleman, which I don't know if you all have heard about, is Michael Tellinger. He has something called One Small Town, and it's based on the Ubuntu movement of creating these communities that are actually not connected to government or to anything else. So it's like literally by the people, for the people. And he's been working on this for a long time. And I think he's starting now to really make headway. So again, I'm keeping tabs. I'm like, because, here's the thing, right? Like, we don't all need to start from scratch. Like, let's learn from others who have maybe made some attempts so that, we can kind of learn from them and not create from scratch. So that's kind of what I feel. But I feel like enough of us have been receiving these downloads. Like, literally, I'll talk to like people, and 1 out of 10 is like, yeah, I'm going to create a sanctuary and it's going to be a community. I'm like, okay, we're all talking about this. Like, how is this happening?
And that's what we get in our sessions, that we're, the communities are going to be created, but we don't know how it's supposed to happen. We never get that bit of information. How is that going to come together?
Magic.
I mean, I keep yeah, magic. I keep saying that we got to go back to the tribes, the way the tribes were way back when, and that's
I know, but I want a shop to buy my paints and my art materials and things. What am I going to use?
But you can have that. So if we go back to the small towns and communities that we used to have, where
We
you
can
would
still have shops that sell things that are useful. Okay.
Sure.
Because when people say we're going back to communities and tribes, I just think of living in a tent or something. I don't want to live in a tent.
No, it doesn't have to be like that. Just small community without outside influence. You have your own space, but you have the community where you could have your market that everybody brings their wares, or your shops. That I think how it has to go.
I had a session just the other day, and he was given a vision of his future life and what that would look like. And he was living in like a cabin. He's like, it's like a cabin, and it's, simpler time. So he wasn't fully realizing yet that he was looking at, a future version, a new earth experience. But everything was modern. Everything was super modern and high technology, but simpler. It's the simpler life that, not all the things that we're dealing with now. So high technology, but simpler life is the way I'd like to see it. Because I want all my things too, because I'm not living in a tent.
Right.
I
Get
think it's a
trench foot
blend.
and stuff.
Not
Sorry.
even a glampy tent. I'm sorry. No, thank you.
I think it's going to be a blend of like the old and the
Yeah.
new, right? Because to some sense,
Yeah.
like even us talking about let's grow our own food, I'm like, that's what they did in the beginning. So
Right.
it's almost like we're coming back full circle, be like, let's keep it simpler. Let's build these communities. I'm like, this is all the stuff that existed before. So I feel like we're bringing that back, but
Yeah.
now we can also utilize it along with technology, right? Like we don't
Yeah.
actually need to be starting a fire with sticks necessarily. We can still do that, but when we have all these tools and resources, we've made all this progress. It's like, let's take all the good things from now and take all the good things from then and then create this new version, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I feel. It's like taking the best of both sides. And I know that it's also about, what's the word that I'm looking for that Michael Tellinger keeps talking about? It's about like, what is it called? Not free technology, free
energy.
energy. That's it, Heather. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like free energy because that's such an important component. So we can have all of these things that we're used to. So we could have a more glamping version. So I
Yeah.
think like those things are important, right? It's sort of like we're in a completely new energy field and frequency. So it's like, let's blend these things and create something brand new, because that's what I feel.
Yeah.
My question is though, how do we get the tech off the bad guys and start using it for good?
I think the free energy thing is the important part. Is we don't need all this stuff to communicate, just crystals and copper, and I mean it's just simple, but it's been hidden so much that we don't need their tech.
Where is it? How do we find it, Tony?
Well, we need some engineers to start developing and that are free thinkers, and it's been hidden.
Yeah, and
They don't-
suppressed. Even people now that are figuring this stuff out, it's all suppressed, isn't it?
Right.
Well, is it though? I mean, here's my question. I mean, this is something that's come up for me. I don't know, all of you have been tapped in because a lot of things have been suppressed, but suddenly these like medbed EES technology is like everywhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how is this being allowed? Because this completely goes against like what's happening, right? So where's this technology? Is this really for our benefit? Is it not for our benefit? Because it's taking the energy. Like I just heard that they had this bed now for free in India. I'm like, wait, what? Wow. Like they're making it completely accessible. So how is this coming forward? Do you know what I mean? So the same way that you're saying, Kaz, that there's like, what is the technology that in quotes the negative have? What about the technology that the positive has? Like, what if we are getting all of this wonderful stuff from the positive side, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's more powerful. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing to explore.
I haven't heard of the med beds. You'll have to send me a link for where they're using that because I
Oh,
haven't.
yeah. The EES system. Yeah. I've had, I think there's a portal member or two that are using it. And I want to say they used it in conjunction with helping with their cancer as well. So I'm not really sure though exactly what it does, but I've seen it. I
Yeah.
know
So if you
there's
can-
centers everywhere.
There are centers everywhere. I personally got a chance to go to one in Sedona last year. Now, I just went for one session. So when they asked me, how did you feel? I mean, I'll be honest, I might have felt a tingle or two, but I didn't really feel anything
I think it takes
significant.
a few sessions, doesn't it?
I think that's kind of how
Yeah.
it works. And even though I'm saying med bed, it's not actually a bed. It's actually like these scalar waves that are set up around the room. So you can have these screens that are kind of like beaming this energy and frequencies, which are meant to be healing for your body. So yeah, it's still kind of interesting, but I noticed it because it's like suddenly the market has been flooded, like even internationally. So it's like, wow, that's interesting. How is this being allowed to get out there? So I don't know which side of the
Yeah.
fence I'm on right now, but I have to like use my discernment with this. So, but I was just curious if you guys had also heard of it and your thoughts.
Not heard of it. No, I need to look into it because I don't know anything. Because back in the day, it was all med beds and it was all alien tech or something. I don't even know. So I just don't know. I can't comment.
Kaz, you say it back in the day, like it was 10
3 years
years
ago.
10 years
But
ago.
it feels like
It's only been
forever.
I know it's only
Back
been
in
2
the
years.
day.
Back in the day, I think a lot of that stuff and the information is coming out there. We take everything that was meant to control us and turn it for good. We can do that, and I think the information is getting out there now. It's going to be to the point where we have to discover it and do it for ourselves. I don't think it's being suppressed anymore like it used to be. I mean, they kind of every now and then you see something getting suppressed, but I don't think it's like it used to be back in the day.
I've been noticing a lot of new technologies, and I've had people send me, "Hey, check this out and look at this." And I've actually been quite surprised at the advanced technologies that are available. But again, we need like one central location where you can just go. I'm sure there probably is, but where you can go and see all these different things. But the technology is really interesting. It's things that I've never heard of. And of course, you can't speak to how effective it is, but some interesting stuff's out there.
What kind of stuff, Heather? My curiosity's piqued now.
So there's one that I think Kim shared, and I don't even know that I could describe it, but it's something where they use this technology and they do something where they get your DNA imprints, and I'm going to mess this way up. So it's something where they get your DNA imprint from when you're very, very young, before you had any health issues, before you had anything going on. And you use this technology. I don't know how, because I only briefly looked at it, but it's supposed to work with your system to take you sort of back to that time. Not, it doesn't take you back to being a baby or anything. I don't know if that'd be a good thing or not, but it takes your body, it puts you back to that original state of before you had all the health issues. So that was fascinating. And just lots of little things like, things we can put in our homes to protect your Wi-Fi. I'm seeing a lot of that come in. To protect the energy in your home, to clean up the energy, like cleaning up all of the dirty electricity that runs through our house. All sorts of little devices like that. And then the EES, I've been looking in. There's also a website where, and again, I don't know enough to speak of the technology, but you can do these little programs that are supposed to kind of like scalar wave programs that reprogram the cells or reprogram the body in some way to eliminate disease or to change something or to heal something. Just really unique things.
Yeah, and I heard something about, I can't remember, I think her name is like Blossom Goodchild. She was talking about this, I don't know, I'm going to call it a wand. It's some sort of a wand that you can buy, and it has like all this frequency and you can like use it on your body. I actually have a friend who's looking at potentially buying one, so I can't wait to hear her personal experience. But even with the scalar energy, like there's so many people that are talking about like so many miracles that have happened to them. And this is where it kind of gets interesting for me, right? Because it's like, I'm not doubting that there isn't technology that's helping, but sometimes I also wonder about the placebo effect, right? Where if you believe that something is going to heal you, it's going to heal you. And that could even be a glass of water, right? So that's part of it. And then for me, it's also like, we've all been through healing journeys, right? So yes, it's working on your body, but like, you can't bypass the emotional work or the healing work that needs to be done. So
Yeah.
how does that work? Because all of this to me it all works together. It's like the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it all happens together. So even that can only do so much, right? Because you can't bypass doing work. So that's kind of what comes up for me. I'm like, yeah, this is wonderful, but it's not like you step in there and then you do 10 sessions and you're fixed, like all is well. Like, I just think that it's a wonderful tool and resource, but there's many other things that you need to do to heal yourself.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some of it is a bit disempowering. I'm at the stage now, I think we do have the power to heal ourselves. No jokes.
Yeah.
But we just forgotten. Or it's been lost and it's been taken away, all that information. We need to get in touch with that. That's where I'm at. That's where my head's at now.
And that's why I think I always look at our sessions as retraining sessions. We're helping people to retrain how to get to that deep, relaxed, meditative state, to be able to get the answers they need, to get the healing that they need, and clear out any of the blockages and stuff that are there that are causing the issues in the first place. But we're kind of helping them, empowering people to be able to do that themselves. Because after a few sessions, they can start doing it themselves, I think.
And won't that be amazing? It's like you said, Vineeta, just it's putting all the pieces together. It would be lovely to have places where people could be retrained in, you have the ability to heal, and here's how you do it. And the reprogramming of the mindset and the belief systems that we have, because that holds us back. We don't believe that we can, because we're so programmed to believe that we have to get our healing in a certain way. So I think that would be great to have just that type of education that's accessible to everyone, teaching us how to do it.
I had a session today, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing. She was so beautiful, and she had lots and lots of entities and lots of trauma. And we went through the whole session and we were trying to get rid of this. There was one thing on her back. We'd called in guides. That didn't work. We'd called in angels. We'd called in, I don't know who else. And at the very end of the session, she was like, I still feel it there. I was like, you are way more powerful than this entity. I want you just to grab it.
Grab it.
Just grab it.
Rip it off.
And I was like coaxing her. I said, you can do this. You're so powerful. And she did. She just went, right, I'm grabbing it. And there's all these roots and that's being dismantled. And I said, just put it in the light. I want you to transmute it. And that was all it took.
That's it. And that was probably the lesson that she needed in that, because I found that too.
And I needed.
Yeah. But I've gotten so mad at sometimes. And yeah, you just want to say, just rip that out. Just rip it out. So now she knows that she can do that. I love it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I just wanted to add that, as we're talking about different ways to heal ourselves, I also wanted to mention my very dear friend, my soul sister, Nicola, is on here, and she shared that the frequencies of the EES scalar waves release the denser energy, memory stored in our body and cells, and the cells begin anew, uncluttered with past or stored denser information or energy. So she was with me actually on my trip, and she also got a chance to experience the technology. But, the other thing that we had touched on earlier is we have this immense ability to heal. We've just forgotten, right? That's the veil, right? Forgetting how powerful we each are. And part of the process of healing is, of course, we're doing all of this emotional, physical, all of this work, but it's also, the food that we're eating. Look at all these tinctures, the herbs, the plants, crystals. I mean, we have so much available to us as tools and resources. And I think we're each learning, right? Like, what is the right combination for us? And it certainly is amazing, like what each of you do, because that really helps a lot of us who are kind of more in the beginning parts of our journey, or anybody, right? To be able to see some of those things for ourselves and then to be able to start to heal. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you guys do, because it's so powerful and so amazing, and transforms people's lives. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Nixie said biofield tuning will help you as well. Didn't you just have a biofield tuning session, Tony?
Yep. Yeah, Angela did that on me too. It was pretty incredible.
How was that?
Really good. You could feel it, and it's been a while here now. Now I can't even remember. But she basically is with the tuning forks, clearing out your biofield and clearing out the blockages that are in that field, coming in, and she could actually tell where they came from, like how old you were and where it came from, what kind of blockages it was that was there, and how it got there. So it was pretty interesting.
I don't think I know what it is. Is it just the sound healing, or?
The tuning forks, she uses tuning forks, and while you're just sitting there in a relaxed state, but she can actually feel into the energy and what she's removing with the tuning forks as she's going through the biofield. Someone else that's probably studied biofield tuning can probably explain it better than I can, but yeah, it's just removing the blockages that are there in the field.
I read a book. There's a book that I want to say it says something about biofield tuning, but she writes about how she does it, and it's like using the tuning forks to find where there's a blockage in your energy, and then using the sound and the frequency to move that energy so that it's not stuck. Yeah, I tried it after reading the book, and I was like, I can't feel anything. But I think you have to really practice, because it's very sensitive to feel where that energy, there's a, like a place where you have to work on it.
So it's kind of what we do in our sessions, just feeling that energy in the body and working through.
Yep, moving it out.
Okay.
So many ways to do these things, isn't there?
Yeah, it really is. And I always love when I ask my clients in a session, you can do this work yourself, What tool would you like to use? And I get all sorts of crazy. I love that part.
Hammers and vacuums and
all sorts of things. Yeah.
Screwdrivers made of light.
I've got to say, though, I'm so fed up of these entities and dark beings. I would like a Ghostbuster type gun or whatever they have. Just zap them and suck them all in.
I was trying to remember what they called that pack.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that pack. Just kind of.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah.
I shut my power off using too high of a vacuum.
You did. Yeah.
The client, I was taking off a steel, it was like a steel cap that was keeping her from connected, and I asked her what she wanted to use, and she said, I want to use a chisel. And so we got the chisel light, and she goes, I want to use a vacuum to suck it off. And we use the chisel light to chisel it free, and then we use the vacuum, and the vacuum shut down my power. It goes boop, gone. It's too much power.
They're like, I need the smaller vacuum next time, please.
We got it off. We reconnected and went through, kept going on the session, but we got it off. So it was good. It was all good.
Incredible.
Oh my goodness.
Vineeta, have you had a session with Heather?
I have not. I've had one with her friend Alexandra. So yes, I've only had one session, and Heather knows the story that, all of us who go into the session, at least initially, you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Am I making up stuff? What am I doing? So it's so funny. I did my session with Alexandra, but I watched all of Heather's videos of how to prepare. So that definitely helped a lot. And yeah, it was amazing for, to kind of have my session. And I definitely feel like I would love to do another one, and who knows, maybe it will be with
Yeah.
Heather.
Maybe. Now you do all of our group sessions. So you've done some of the group quantum sessions, quantum healing sessions. Yeah. And you have some pretty interesting experiences in those as well. So you're very connected.
Thank you, Heather. I mean, and this is the interesting thing, right? One of the things, and I was talking about this before we even jumped on this live, that, so many of us, it doesn't matter how far along we are in our journey, how experienced, that imposter syndrome like kicks in, right? And so there's always this sort of like doubt that creeps in. So what I love is when like Heather does her meditations and guides us, and she does such an amazing job that everybody has some experience, even if that means they fell asleep and they're going to like try to remember afterwards. But I just love anything that's visual and that's like a journey, and it's like I'm off on some adventure, and it's really about saying, yes, I see all of these things. Is this my imagination? Is it real? You know how you kind of, you're not sure, and then I'm just learning more and more that the imagination is our key, right? That is one of our most powerful tools, and to trust it. So I'm still working on that piece. I'm definitely getting better, but it's always nice to have the confirmations, so definitely.
Well, that's another area we don't know a lot about, right? It's the brain and how it works. And we only use this tiny part. It's like the ocean. We've only really studied a small amount of the ocean. It's like as above, so below. I find it fascinating, like where you go to in these sessions. I feel like I go to right at the base of my skull. Anyway, that's just me.
You feel like you go to the base of your skull when you're in the session? When
Yeah.
you're doing a session, or when you're in the session?
Yeah, I feel like that's where my imagination sits, is right at the
Oh.
back here.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
Like I can feel it. I can feel the
feeling.
energy. Mm.
Oh,
What?
well, I was just going to say, I feel like I've heard somebody else say that, and there's something back there. I want it. Oh gosh, you can never think of what you want to when you're, there's something about connecting back in this area. There's a part of the brain. Do you know, Vineeta? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it, but that's exactly it. It's like
Okay.
where the base of the neck and the head connect.
Amygdala?
Yes, there's something. It's connected. You got it, Heather.
Maybe
almost.
somebody will know. Something like
But
that.
it's almost
It's-
like that's kind of that place where there's a lot of like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, the entry where we're able to tap into this higher consciousness.
There you
the-
go.
Right. I didn't know that.
The occipital lobe.
Occipital lobe. Okay.
Ooh. I know there's loads of nerves at the back there. That's all I know.
I was trying to think because I thought the nerves for our eyes connect way back there, but I'm not 100% on that. I can't remember, but still, that's interesting though. But our imagination is our true self. I think to me, our imagination, our dreams, are memories of things that have happened to us already, or that we're
Lord,
seeing.
I hope not with my
Well, no.
dreams.
Yeah, but we have to think about it. You have to think about the human mind can only interpret what it knows. So it fills in the gaps with what it understands. So it makes it convoluted and messed up because it's not right, because it doesn't completely fully understand everything about it, because it can only understand what is going on in this reality.
That's another thing that I really want to know more about is dreams. There are there's so many levels and layers to that. Even, we have clients come in sessions and feel like they're off traveling on journeys, or going and meeting with their counsels and guides, and you find out that is what they're doing. So somehow they're pulling that information back in and remembering it. It's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it is just remembering. I think this whole process that we're going through is all remembering.
Yeah.
Remembering, retraining, retooling.
Well, I know another thing that we were going to chat a little bit about was abundance and abundance blocks and what holds us back from bringing in that abundance. And I think it, tying back into what we were talking about with the communities and just relearning, remembering who we really are and deprogramming all of those belief systems. How do we get more into a flow state of bringing abundance into our lives? What do you guys think? Anybody know? What's the secret?
Well, I can say what's blocking it, and most of the time it's our own mind blocking it. Don't believe it, don't allow it. We're programmed not to. So if we can clear that out, it'll flow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to heal our traumas and attachments and programs. I think, I hate to say it, I think we still have a lot of work to
Long
do.
way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be a party pooper.
Gosh, Kaz, you're raining on our
Why-
parade.
Sorry.
Thanks, Kaz. We were supposed to have a positive conversation about abundance. Kaz
Sorry.
is like, nobody gets
That's
anything.
just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
It is hard though, because even when you're focused, like you're focused on what you want to create, but that all the programs and all the experiences that you've had throughout life and all the experiences you've had in other lifetimes. I know I've been told that I've had a lot of lives full of poverty and hunger and things, and it has an effect on this life. So how do we
Yeah.
deprogram?
Yeah, that's such a fascinating conversation. And I think also for me personally, I just know there were so many inherited conversations, right? Like generationally when it comes to like just money, right? And that feeling of like lack or deserving or worthiness. There's so many things tied into this conversation, right? And it's almost like as we do our work, we still have to release some of these things and transform some of these things. But it's also about, that old way that we've been dealing with like abundance might not be the same way as we're stepping into this like new frequencies, right? And there's this big gap. So it's like, how do we start to bridge that gap? And I feel there needs to be education, especially I feel even more so in the light working community, because there's so much for us to learn and understand, right? Because we're still doing things the old way. Not that it's bad, it's just saying that we are the ones here to kind of create the new. So like, what are we creating? I've always been a huge fan of barter and trade, which is like the old way of doing things. And even when I had my business, it was a food business, that's what we would do. There was not an exchange of money with like other people that were like in a similar thing. I would just be like, okay, let's trade. What are we trading? Like, so let's not even worry about money. So something about that feels really good to me. And it is kind of tying back to Michael Tellinger's concept. And he said something like, so say you bring in all of these people and everyone has an expertise or something that they love to do, right? And as you start building that community, he was saying something like, if each person gave 3 hours in a week, only 3 hours in a week, and just did the thing that they loved, that would be enough to like run the community. Of course, depending on how many people you have. But could you imagine that you would only like work for like a couple of hours and the rest of the time you'd be part of a beautiful community, get to do all of these things. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's almost kind of like that's kind of his vision and goal, to kind of create the space where that whole concept of we got to work really hard to like earn money and to get this and to do that, when it's like, what if it's just about being in your joy and being in an alignment and doing the things that you absolutely love, and then everything floods in from that. So that's kind of the space that I want to hang out in. Maybe it's not exactly rooted, very rooted, but
I'll hang out with you there.
I think that is where we're going.
Yeah.
When we've done all this this work that we have to do. Yeah.
I-
And sorry, I've just got to scroll back because Nixie Tree said that it's just your perspective, isn't it, on what abundance is, which is true.
What I was going to say is, I think we're looking at it different, because I always have to be reminded all the time by my buddies when I'm talking about abundance. I'm abundant, completely abundant. I mean, things just flow. They just come in. We worry for nothing about money coming in, but it's there when you need it. And I'm manifesting. I just don't see it. And they have to remind me that I manifested that. I brought that into existence just by thinking about it. I talked about it. I wanted it to happen, made it happen. And they have to remind me all the time that I'm doing it, because I don't see it as a person. I'm not seeing it because it didn't come in the time frame that I thought it was supposed to be. It's just taken a little longer, but we're doing it. I think we can manifest that abundance. It just might not come in at the time that we think it should.
Yeah.
And like Alice there, she just had a manifesting where the puppy that she got was really expensive, and she said it'll come back to her, and it did. She just got a large check yesterday. So
Amazing.
maybe we're just not seeing it because we
I
expect it to happen now.
I feel that way, and you're right about that. I know I was given a vision a while back of a retreat like center, or a wellness center, something like that. I know so many people have also been given those thoughts. It's almost like we have to put it out there so everybody can start thinking. Even Kaz took us on a journey to look at that, whatever it's going to be. That was fascinating.
Nice. Yeah.
But when I was tuning in, because you think, how could I ever make something like that happen? Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. And I just kept getting, it's not about that. It's not about you figuring out the details and the hows and the whens and the whys and all of that. It's about creating the vision, and what do you want it to look like, and how do you want it to feel, and what do you want to have there in that space. And as you think about those things that you want and you want to create, you're creating the energy that you're putting out into the universe that eventually, when the time is right, will help to align you to the things that will manifest all of that will bring it all in. But you're right, Tony. We want everything now, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we want yesterday, really.
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's part of the programming, I think, too, that we're stuck in a money slave system.
Yeah.
And we worry about that stuff, but I have never really had to. The money is what we need is always there when we need it. I guess we just need to start manifesting a little overflow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I think we need more people to be on the same page.
Yeah, that's
like
where the
back to
work
the
comes in.
the community thing too, right? Like local people that are thinking the same way.
Yeah.
I think things are probably going to have to get a little bit worse for more people to start to see the need for that. Don't you think? Because everybody around me is just going along with, their life as it is, and not really having an awareness of all these things that we see. I just wonder, like, what is going to have to happen to make them go, this way that we're living is no longer working.
I think it's going to have to be something big, and we keep seeing it in session. It's going to be something big. It's going to be an emotional explosion. Well, what is that? What is it? What do we need? What would make the change?
I'm curious to know what Vineeta hears in her podcast about what this change looks like. What's the catalyst, do you think?
Well, it's really interesting. I was just having a conversation yesterday because I almost feel like, you could be standing next to someone on the street and our frequency and vibration is completely different. And we could literally be looking at the same thing and seeing completely different things. So I feel that there is a lot of that happening right now. So even though, yes, something good could happen, I don't know that everyone's going to see and experience it, because if they're in a different frequency, they're going to have a different experience. So I know this makes it more complicated, but that's kind of how I feel, that there's so many things going on, and our reality is kind of based on what frequency we're sitting in. So I'm just really curious. It's like, am I seeing what everyone else is seeing? Are they experiencing the same things? I haven't had a lot of people talk about that either on my podcast. I did have someone who was kind of, from her perspective, what she saw going on in terms of light and dark and all of that, but nothing concrete. And I think, they like to have fun with us, right? So they're never going to give us too much information. They're always going to be like, well, we'll just let you see and find out. And you're like, wait, but I want to know more. And they're like, oh, we're just going to drop little droplets here and there. And, so it is kind of interesting. I too, I'm not sure, but I think it just reminds me that there's so much information there. I mean, there's like, I can't even name, there's like I don't know, thousands of channelers, thousands of sessions that get put out there. It can get really confusing and overwhelming. You're like, well, what is it? What's going to happen? Because they don't all match, right? So at the end of the day, each person, even if they're a vessel to bring in some channeled information, it's still going through their filter, right? And it's also, depending on what dimension the information is coming in from, they have a different perspective too, right? So fifth dimension has a different one than the sixth dimension, than the eighth dimension. I'm like, everyone has like different perspectives. So I kind of have to like bring it back to self and say, okay, Vineeta, it's okay sometimes to just live in your little bubble. What's the work that you need to do? Focus on your joy, and just know that just keep doing what you're doing and keep moving forward and connecting with the people that feel like the right match for you at this time, and just go with the flow. So I also try to keep it simple for myself, because it can get very overwhelming.
It's interesting that you say that. As Emily and I have done these messages sessions, we're learning more and more that these different beings, the different groups, the different races, they don't all see this that we're going through the same lens and the same perspective. So depending on who you're connected with in a session, most clients are higher self, but then we have some clients who are connected more with their guides. And I feel like that's part of sometimes why we see things come in differently, because the beings have different perspectives on what we're going through. And there was something else I was going to say, and it just went out of my head. It's gone.
I kind of want to bring
Peace
it
out.
back to the fact that we just constantly give our power away. We're constantly looking for answers or a savior or whatever it is, and we need to bring that power back to ourselves. And we know in our sessions, and it's quite clear that we already know. We already know the answer.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I think people are going to experience different things, like whatever this shift or event or however you want to look at it. I think you're going to experience what your soul needs to experience. Maybe not everybody is going to be ready to experience some big grand event. They might have a different experience. Like you said, the two people standing next to each other, seeing things very different. So I think it's hard to even know what that's going to look like, because there may be many different experiences that we're going to go through.
Yeah, and I love what my friend just shared, Nicola, which is, we're starting to step into more of our multidimensional selves. So it's kind of all happening at the same time, and it's really up to us to choose, right? Like every moment we do get to choose what we want to experience. So I think kind of what you're saying, Kaz, it's about, remembering that we actually have the power. It's not just external. It's like, what do we want to create? What do we choose? And kind of even coming back to when we were talking about these sanctuaries, like I have done meditations. I have already seen the sanctuary that I've dreamt of. Like I'm walking around it. I see it. You know what I mean? So in some sense, I look at it like, what if this already exists and I'm making my way to it? You know what I mean? It's like, what, it's already there in a different dimension. And as I'm navigating my journey and my frequency is rising, like I'm gonna like step into the center, like it's already there. So sometimes that's an interesting thought also, right? Like all these things that we're looking for and wanting, it already exists and we're just making our way to them.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Good way to put
Yeah.
it.
The mind boggles, doesn't it? Sometimes I just think my head's gonna.
Can they just give us the answers, please?
Or can we just get there already, wherever it is?
Guys,
But-
like I'm over
I'm
it.
so
It's done.
Can you tell? Sorry.
Hey, this is what we signed up for, folks. We came for that human experience. Here we go.
I'm starting to wonder if I did. I really am. I'm like, did I? I can't go too far into that because, yeah.
Gaz, they just put all your favorite foods and everything that you love in front of you, and you're just
And
like,
pulled a
yes,
rope
yes.
like this, like, come this way. Ay, ay, ay.
I feel like I've been quite enjoying lately watching things unfold. I don't know. I feel like there's been a little bit of a shift in me. And I'm feeling more excited than I've ever been about what's to come. I don't know what that is, but it sounds amazing.
Mhm.
Can we just get there, please? Just
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's really us leaning into just embracing that unknown. I know that is so hard for us, but to
Oh, it
lean
is.
into it instead of like fearing it or like, putting all our energy, like, what's going to happen? To just say, if like I tell myself every day, everything is happening for me. Everything is happening for me. So am I really trusting if I'm saying the other things? You know what I mean? So I think it's a really interesting balance, but just kind of reminding ourselves that, we're such powerful creators and we get to choose our experience. So what do I want to experience today? What
Oh,
do
I
I want
have
to
to-
experience today?
Sorry, Vineeta, but I had like this shock moment last week, okay? Because I read over an old horoscope chart my sister gave me 20 years ago. And for some reason, I just wanted to reread it. I don't know even why. And in there was my entire life, to the point where it said 20 years ago, you will make an exceptional therapist. And I remember at the time thinking, what the hell? I'm not going to be a therapist. And
Yes, you
here I
are.
am. So my point is, how much is planned?
I
You know,
think it's all planned.
that kind of just threw me back a few steps, I'm like, yeah, we get to decide and da da da. And I'm like, and it was just bizarre. So I'm really getting into the horoscope side of things now. That's like my next. What else is planned? What else have I got coming up? Come on, I'm ready.
Well, Kaz, you're a multidimensional being, so you've chosen to be this in this particular lifetime, but we don't know all the other timelines. I mean, you could be like a pilot in one of them. I mean, you could be like a scientist in another one. So I think these are all possibilities, right?
Well, I want to see the horoscope charts and, the archetypes for those lives as well, please. Figure out what's going on over there.
How boring would it be though if we had all the answers?
That's what they've said.
Yeah,
If we there'd be no surprises.
yeah. Kaz is
Some
like,
people don't like surprises.
Kaz,
Kaz is like, no surprises here.
that's like
just
horseshit.
get your horoscopes. There's no surprises. Honestly.
Oh, that's funny.
I do think it is fun though to figure this out. Like I know when something starts to really click and it makes sense, and then all of a sudden I go, oh my gosh, that's what that is. I love that. Like I get really excited about that. So I think that's kind of what they mean. If we gave you all the answers, it just wouldn't be fun, this journey of remembering.
Mm.
Am I the only one that feels that way?
No, I agree with you. Kaz is going down. That's horseshit. That's horseshit.
Yes, and like my friend said, it's like the now moment. And I think that's so hard. Like I literally this, past couple of days have been thinking about this. It's like, how often am I actually present? I'm so busy,
Uh,
like thinking about, oh, what do I need to do tomorrow? And then this, and then
mm,
what happened in the past? I'm like, what about the now moment? Like, am I actually missing a lot of things because I'm not even taking the time to be present? So that's a practice that I'm putting into place for myself, to be present in the now moment and to just catch myself, not in any like, sort of like scolding myself in any way, but just saying, oh, am I present? Like, what am I doing? What am I enjoying in this moment? Or what am I not enjoying in this moment? And so, like I said even before, it's like I'm just trying to keep things simple for myself because it's so easy. I'm one of those people, I just want to know everything. I want to learn everything. I want to know everything. But
me
sometimes it's
too.
also about coming back to that stillness and that quiet and taking more time to just be in those spaces. Just for me personally, is something that I'm looking to kind of put more of my attention to.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
because that's all we have. It's all we have.
like we were talking before, I'm pretty sure last week I shifted a timeline because things weren't going well that week, and I went to bed. I even told my wife, I said, I'm changing timelines. We're going to get up tomorrow morning and it's going to be better. And sure enough, I got up the next morning, tried it once more, and it changed and opened a whole lot of stuff up last week. So it works. That
Did you
it
come
happened.
back to our timeline then, or have we gone to yours? Or
Well,
is there different
maybe
versions of you now?
maybe it must be. Maybe you jumped to mine now because I'm on the higher timeline now.
Okay, good.
Maybe you guys were just here on the higher timeline and I just joined you.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's another thing that I just wish they would sit me down and somebody would show me how that works. I'm so fascinated by timelines and how everything's happening in the now moment. I just want to see it from the perspective of the higher beings that understand it. Like I just want to be given a glimpse. Just to,
Mm.
I think your head would
no.
actually explode.
I'm good. I'm good. I want to know.
Yeah,
No, me and
I'll just
Vineeta are
hold
quite
it. I'll be
happy in our
like,
we're happy in our bubbles.
I'll hold it down and I'll go, okay, go.
go, go.
Make it quick.
I
Oh
love it.
dear.
Well, that's why this is so beautiful, right? Like, I always feel that each one of us holds a puzzle piece, right? In this grand spectrum of things. And um, coming together and sharing and having these conversations, like each one of us gets different insights, but we're also kind of bringing these experiences in and this co-creation. And with all the people that are joining in live, replay, it's so beautiful because there are just so many different perspectives. And I guess to me, the cool thing about this is just there is excitement still, right? Even though there is some sense of like, oh my God, the unknown, I don't know what's happening. There's also that excitement of like, what are we stepping into? Like, what are we creating and what are we co-creating? So I try to kind of bring myself into that energy of, what are the things that I get a chance to create? Like, what are the things that I do have control over? And to kind of just kind of step into that space more and more.
Yeah, I mean, my mind does wander a lot, but I always have to bring myself back to the fact that we're all here. There's many of us, and there must be a reason for that.
Mhm.
So even when I feel like, oh, where am I? I have to just come back to that. Like it feels like a 0 point. And I'm like, okay, there's a purpose. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I agree. And we're all here sharing our stories. And you're right, we all have this little puzzle piece. Yeah.
Mm.
Tony, are you still in our dimension?
I'm just here. I'm just
Come
enjoying
back.
I'm just enjoying the ride.
Oh dear. It is
w-
mind-boggling.
uh, I always do these events that I do on the weekend, and we have some pretty deep conversations when we're there. A bunch of dudes just sitting around a fire or whatever, talking about having all these conversations, and it's mind-boggling.
Oh, tell us what conversations. Come on.
We talk
Yeah,
about everything.
are these
Just like
fellas
you.
open like you, or do you feel like you're
Well,
bringing them in?
well, the guys that I work with always are open like I am. And
Mhm.
we have some pretty deep conversations, and bringing more and more, the more we do it, the more people come into it and go, oh, I didn't, you know, seeing stuff that they weren't seeing before. And just from us talking and different perspectives, I found out I need to make moccasins now because everybody likes my moccasins that I wear. And I was talking about grounding this weekend, that's why I made those moccasins. So just putting little seeds in people's minds, it kind of brings them into to think more deeply and figure out, what's really going on.
I would
So
love to be a fly on the wall or around the campfire when you're having these conversations with the dudes.
there's some deep conversations for sure. Yeah.
Heather, we need an invisibility
I-
cloak. We can
Can
just
can he just hit the record button on the Telegram chat and
There we go. Just
just sit the
play it
phone
for you.
aside and
Right.
just record us a good one so we can hear.
He's like, what happens in the circle stays in the circle.
Yeah.
Exactly right. What we talk about stays there.
Don't.
I just there's so many analogies that come out of that too. Like I told you that one analogy, like as men, we have to be the beach to our woman's ocean. Try to figure that out.
Hmm.
You don't want to be the seawall that gets beat upon when the ocean comes rolling in, or the ground that gets broken away. You want to be the beach that just gently rolls over and still pretty firm, but
were you on something? These conversations.
Look, we need that written, please, so we can revisit it.
funny. But there's some good conversations.
Deep Thoughts by Warrior Tony.
Mhm.
Yes, I could see a book.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, that's what we need to do.
I
One
love
day.
that though. I love that there's, because that is something that comes up because I feel like I even notice on my podcast, like 98% of the people that come on my podcast are female.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how else to word this, but I'm always kind of looking out for like where are the divine masculine that are on their healing journeys that are willing to come and share their stories. So clearly, we already know who I'll be asking.
Yeah.
We know the people in your circle will not be willing, but I know you will be willing. But that's something that I notice, right? And I think it's incredible. I know that there's so much about the divine feminine rising power, but I think a lot of times what's not talked about is, there's a lot of divine masculine that are also doing their work and, they are stepping up and out, but their numbers are maybe not as well known as some of the women. So I think it's really important to include more of you in these conversations because, all of your perspectives and your healing is so important because at the end of the day, like my friend was sharing in the chat, what we're trying to do is to get that balance, the divine masculine and feminine, right? So we still
Yeah.
need the balance. And that's kind of what I think is a lot of what's going on now. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. I mean, it's incredibly empowering to see all the women, because I know so many of us have had wounds of not being seen and not being able to speak. I know I'm one of those people like constantly throat chakra needs to be
Yeah.
cleared because who knows what are all the things that I had to go through. So in some sense, I'm super excited for all of us to be able to express who we are. And but the other side is also to include more of the divine masculine. So
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
I just worked with someone just the other day who was amazing. And he asked that exact question at the end of our session. And he said, why is it that it only appears to be mostly women? When you listen to these sessions, when you go on the different channels, it's mostly women. He said, do men not come through? And I said, you're absolutely right. It is primarily. I do feel like, and I've heard this before, it's almost like there's been such an imbalance of the masculine and feminine energies on this planet for so long, more heavily on the masculine side. And it feels like possibly the females are rising quickly. Also, the females it's easier for them to tap into their intuition and to connect easier, to trust than it is sometimes for the masculine. But it almost feels like that feminine energy is really rising quickly so that it can help to bring those two back into balance. That's just maybe.
But boy, are they
thing.
trying to disempower us now, right?
Yeah.
Because they see how powerful we are. They're like, what is a woman anyway?
Right.
And shamefully, Vineeta, we have not had a male guest on Tuesday Talks yet.
But we may have one next month, right?
Next month, yeah. Yes, I'm going to make that happen. I don't care who it is, just any old bloke. Come on.
Any old bloke.
Well,
but
go ahead.
we're programmed to we're taught not to show our emotions. So guys do not feel out of the heart space like we're supposed to. But what we don't realize is how powerful we are when we have balanced the masculine and the feminine, and we are feeling out of the heart space, because that's where we're supposed to be feeling from, and it's supposed to be in balance. And so we're told that is not the way it's supposed to be. So that's why you don't have that many men realizing that and stepping up as much. But they're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. Most of the guys I hang out with are there.
Can we get them all on Tuesday Talks? We could
I-
just have like a bunch of them on.
I told them that was what we need to do. We need to get them on Tuesday Talks. We'll get them there.
Yes. That would be awesome.
You know, I've also heard in sessions too, they've talked about, because it always seems like, you know, and a lot of the clients I work with, it's the woman that goes first, starts her awakening, and then the man is still very much rooted in the third dimensional life and is not really believing or wanting to hear all the things that the woman is speaking of. And I've had several sessions where the guides have said that's where it's supposed to be. You're getting the chance to raise your frequency and vibration, but he's holding and anchoring the energy. So it's like it's a balance of energy in a way, although the woman's like, but I don't really want that. But you can kind of see it. It's like holding and anchoring and grounding with the man, and then allowing the woman to sort of rise up to all these higher consciousness topics. And it's interesting to think about it in that way.
Yeah.
Although everybody wants to be, it's like, why can't my person be at the same place that I am? It's so frustrating.
Not even my person, Heather, just anyone in general that I know would be good.
Just give me somebody.
Just somebody. Please.
It was somewhat for some reason backwards in my house then, because I started remembering first before my wife did. So it's kind of weird backwards. But I guess that was the way it's supposed to go.
Yep.
So Vineeta, Alice asked a question. Where do you think the collective are in the terms of awakening?
Oh, wow. I think each of us could answer this in our own perspective. You know, I think it's a lot of what we've kind of shared, right? That we are each creating our own reality. I mean, Tony just shared that he just shifted into a higher timeline. I mean, that's possible, right? So I think to me, it's about, yes, we are a collective, but it's like our individual choices impacts the collective. So I think that's kind of where, for me, the responsibility is sometimes too, is to say, what do I want to create? And then stay in that energy and then allow that to ripple effect out to impact the collective. Because sometimes all we need to do is just smile and share our hearts and our love. Like I do that, like even when I'm going out and I'm in the grocery store, like I'll stand in line and I'm just love bombing people. I have nothing else to do, right? So to me, it's like, you know, I feel like it is coming back to self. Of course, I could try to predict what's going on in terms of the awakening. You know, I think people are at all different levels, and all we can do is kind of look at what piece I'm contributing, like what's my drop in this ocean. So I'm not directly answering the question, but I'm really just kind of saying that, come back to self and say, what is my drop in this ocean? Because every drop matters.
Yeah.
So what am I going to put in there? So that's my response. And I let you guys jump in.
I completely agree. I think just coming from the heart and the throat, they seem to be connected. I think that's the time we need to speak from a place of love and compassion, and don't judge anybody. Just focus on yourself, do your own work, and hopefully that has a chain reaction, right? I'm still learning, and I don't think it ends. I don't see the end.
The session I had this morning that said 50%.
Really?
Tony, I'm
We'll
sure
see.
I said like 50% like 6 months ago.
You did. Because you
think that
said it
much?
was in the form of a gas gauge, and you were like
Yeah.
just a little over the half, but
I want to know where this
not quite.
50% is, because they're nowhere around here. I can promise you.
No.
Yeah, actually looking around,
Are
I
they all on
really
their own continent or somewhere?
maybe
Yeah.
there
Maybe there is.
was more and more people that I'm talking to on a regular basis. So when I'm out and about that are coming across, and people that you would never think would start talking about that stuff. Coming up and ask you about grounding. Have you ever heard about grounding?
Why, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
have.
yes, I have.
Have you seen my moccasins? Look.
Yeah, look at those.
Let me show you how it's done.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I think there's more out there than we think.
I hope so.
Yeah. And I was sharing this with Heather that, probably like mid-December, I joined Clubhouse, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with. But I was very, very surprised because I popped in. I said, okay, let me check out the space. And I literally, within hours of joining, started finding groups where it was very more like spiritual and esoteric topics. I mean, people were sharing deeply and authentically. Like, I think I was blown away. And so very quickly I realized, wow, people are finding each other. And it's like so unexpected because, people are coming from literally every part of the world on this app, right? Just like most social media apps, even YouTube. And it really gave me this sense of like, wow, it is happening. There are more of us finding each other. It's almost sort of like we had to do all of this work by ourselves, but now that we have and our frequency is rising, we're attracting more and more of those people that we're meant to co-create with. Like those puzzle pieces are all coming a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. So I think that that's amazing. And yes, one of my dear friends, Phil, is from Clubhouse. So it's just incredible. You never know where, your higher self, your team is guiding you so that you can keep kind of moving into those spaces and growing and connecting. And even all of us connecting together, like this ripple effect of like just this session alone, like we don't know how many people it's going to touch, how many people are going to see this and maybe start to ask questions and say, what do I think about that? Oh, wow, maybe I am really powerful. Maybe I am giving too much of my power away, listening to, 50 other people. Maybe I should just quieten and do some meditation for myself, so we never know. So many things are possible.
Yeah. Well said.
I love that.
Do we have any questions, Tony? I haven't really been paying attention. Do we have any?
No, I think we got all the questions.
Kind of Tony's job, the chat thing.
That's just so I can't pay attention to the conversation. And I can't be in the conversation. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Let's distract him with the chat.
No, I think that was the only question. I think Alice was the only one to ask that question.
I think this has been a great chat today.
It's been an amazing chat.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to go check out Clubhouse. So I'm going to do.
Come on over. I got Heather to like dip a toe in there.
I did. I dipped my toe in, and then I've been so busy that I haven't been able to dip the other one in just yet. But I feel like, but was Phil in there when I was in there with you and Juliet?
Yes.
Was that okay? Hi, Phil. And you know me too.
Yes, Phil is a wonderful soul. And again, he's a divine masculine on his healing journey. So, and there's so many more that I've met. And it's really refreshing because we were talking about how, again, it is a lot of women, but there are men on there too who are being extremely vulnerable, sharing their journeys, being emotional. I mean, things that you don't typically see. And it's not even like how you meet somebody and then it's going to take some time to get to know them where they feel comfortable. Like you come into these spaces and it's almost like it's already primed and ready for people to just be like, I'm just going to share what's going on. So it's been incredibly powerful. And I know for me, that is also a space where I'm getting to see a lot of divine masculine in their journey. So that's been a very refreshing thing. So, Tony, you might consider coming and joining as well.
So I have a hard time, it seems like sometimes, being able to keep track of everything that I'm on. So I don't know. That'd be one more thing that I don't know if I can handle.
That's how I feel. Like there's so many interesting things within it, but it's just finding the time. And I sometimes just need to let my brain air out for the day. But she's right. There's so many interesting topics. And I think what makes it so great is that you get to chat without being seen. So that probably makes people feel a little bit more comfortable sharing because nobody's looking at you while you're talking, but you're just getting to share. So yeah.
Yes, I agree. I think that helps tremendously. And that's probably why the app is so successful. And yeah, it's just been amazing that in such a short time, I feel so connected to so many people. But I think that's part of the journey, right? Like my higher self or my team is just guiding me. Okay, it's time. This is where we need to take you now so that you can kind of start to meet these other groups of people. And there are also many conversations about creating communities, so it's been very refreshing to sort of experience that. And again, it has its ups and downs. Like I think I was like very gung-ho when I was first joining. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go in every other room and look at these topics. And now I'm like, okay, that was wonderful. But I think now I can sort of like go in just a couple of times, during the week. And so I'm kind of finding my balance, but I am feeling the connections and the value. So it's been really amazing. And I think my lovely friend Nicola has posed a question in the chat.
You want to read it?
Yes. So she's asking, what do you all think is the most helpful thought to have help navigate this experience on Earth?
Oh, the most helpful thought.
Oh
my gosh, we talk about this all the time, don't we? Just watch your thoughts. I mean, I don't know if there's one helpful thought. I think just catching yourself thinking negative thoughts and deleting them is a good place to start. I can't pinpoint one. Maybe it will come to me.
For me, it's like being present, I think, is a big one that I'm embracing.
I was going to say, stay in your heart. Stay in your heart. Love each other for who they are and where they are. Stay out of the judgments. The judgment's big, isn't it? We like to judge each other, and that needs to go. So,
or ourselves the most, actually.
Oh, 100%. Judge yourself the worst, don't you?
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say be in the now and go within.
Or even just, where's the joy in this moment, even if it seems horrible and dark? There is always that little tiny bit of light somewhere.
Yeah, chasing your joy. That's kind of a big one for me also. It's like just in the moment, like what's bringing me joy, do that.
Yeah. Usually for me, it's, is there anything around I can eat? Even going out in the garden though and picking my lettuce and just
She comes in and there's none for anyone else.
Oh, I've got loads. Heather, you'd be jealous. Your rabbits would love it here.
I would be jealous because that is one thing that I need more of. And Yeah.
So Vineeta, you're on Clubhouse and you're on YouTube, obviously. Is there anywhere else people can find you?
Yes, so my podcast is on all the regular streaming channels. So it's on like Apple and Spotify. And I know Heather was kind enough to put all the links and all that wonderful stuff in the description.
Yeah.
I'm pretty active on Instagram. So of course I was bugging Heather. I was like, Heather, have you posted on Instagram?
I'm like, girl, no. I'm bad about Instagram. That is not my app. But thank you for reminding me because I went and posted really
She
quickly.
was quick. I mean, she was fast. I was like, thank you, Heather. So yeah, those are kind of the places. I'm on Facebook, but I feel like a lot of that feels a lot more personal, even though I do kind of post my episodes on there. So yeah, just, trying to share with people. And this has just been so wonderful to be with all of you. I've been watching the show, and to have a chance to come on, I'm so grateful and delighted that I got a chance to be in your energy and your timelines, whatever they are.
Yeah. I just feel like it's gone so quick again. These talks just feel like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's a good sign. That's good.
It's because
Nope.
we're in the groove. We're in the
We're in
high
the-
vibration.
Right.
We're outside of time and space when we're in these chats.
Yeah.
This is probably the longest one yet, Kaz. Don't
you
look at the
think?
time. Don't look at the time.
Try not to look at the
It
time.
said,
Don't look at the
don't
time.
do it.
Don't do it. Oh, sweet. It was good having you on, Vineeta. It's really
Vineeta, we are so excited to see where your podcast goes. You have such an amazing energy, and I've just been so grateful to know you and to be in that energy. So thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of this energy exchange.
Oh, thank you guys so much. And I also want to take a moment to thank all my beautiful people that did show up to support in the live, for everybody in the chat, for all your beautiful comments and
Yeah.
shares, to just say thank you, because you are part of the conversation. You're co-creating with us. And like I say on my podcast, let's all elevate together.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today with all the beautiful comments. We love you all so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you all.
All right. Well, you can find everybody's information down in the description so you can connect with Kaz and with Tony and Vineeta. And we will see you guys all next time.
Love you all.
Bye,
Love you all.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.